What you're hearing right now is a $130 microphone, and this is a $440 microphone. Can you tell which is which? I'm either about to save you $300 or convince you why you should spend it. Today we're putting the Fifine Tank1 head-to-head against the legendary Shure SM7B, and we're going to find out which of these mics gives you the best bang for your buck. Whether you're starting a podcast, streaming, or just want studio quality audio without breaking the bank, this comparison is going to help you make the right choice. So let's dive in. First, let's talk specs. The Fifine Tank1 is a dynamic XLR microphone with a frequency response of 50 Hz to 16 kHz, while the Shure SM7B covers 50 Hz all the way up to 20 kHz. Both are cardioid pattern mics that are designed to pick up sound primarily from the front. Build quality is where you start to see the price difference. The Tank1 weighs in at about 2.6 pounds with solid all-metal construction. The SM7B is slightly lighter, but it feels equally robust with its iconic charcoal gray finish and legendary Shure build quality. The Tank1 comes with an analog low cut and mid-boost switch right on the microphone, which is actually really convenient. The SM7B has similar EQ switches, which are a bass roll-off and a presence boost. Both mics require an XLR connection, and phantom power is not needed for either of these. The SMB uses its signature yoke mounting system, while the Tank1 uses standard threading that works with most boom arms. And I currently have the Tank1 on a boom arm that is also from Fifine, and that boom arm can also be purchased for a very affordable price. Now for the moment of truth, how do they actually sound? I'm going to speak into both mics with identical settings on my audio interface. So first of all, here's the Fifine Tank1, and here's the Shure SM7B. So next, let's test them in different vocal styles. I'm going to talk with a softer, quieter speaking voice, first on the Tank1, and second on the SM7B, which is very hard for me to talk softer and quieter, but I want to see how these mics do with this type of voice. Next, I'm going to see how these handle background noise rejection. So I currently have a fan on in the background, and you may or may not be able to hear it depending on how well these are doing. But I'm going to pause for a moment to see how they pick this up. So first, this is what the Tank1 picks up when there's no talking going on. Second, this is what the Shure SM7B picks up with no talking going on. So I'm going to bring up a song on my phone and have that playing in the background. And I'm going to pick something kind of loud. So I've got music playing, and I'm going to set it back here. Alright, so I've got that music playing quite loudly in the background. This is how the audio from the Fifine Tank1 sounds while I'm talking over the music. And this is how the audio from the Shure SM7B sounds while I'm talking over the music. Now both mics perform quite well with those tests, but notice how the SM7B seems to have a slightly better off-axis rejection. That of course is decades of engineering refinement at work. Next, let's test the plosive handling. And I'm going to test the plosives by using several words with a P sound in them.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
So first, on the Tank1, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And then on the SM7B, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now both of these mics seem to handle that well, but the SM7B's built-in pop filter seems to handle it slightly better. The Tank1 still does a great job with the plosives. So next, let's do a pros and cons breakdown of both of these mics. Let's start with the Fifine Tank1. First of all, one of the obvious pros is this mic is a great value at about $130. And I frequently see this on sale, usually about 10% off. So you can technically get even better price on this mic most of the time. The Tank1 also has a very premium, heavy-duty feel to it. It feels and looks solid. And the Tank1 also has those built-in analog EQ switches for easy sound shaping. And the X1 has a natural flat frequency that's very easy to mix. No phantom power required is also a pro for the Tank1. And the heavy build reduces handling noise. So next, let's talk about some cons of the Tank1. Compared to the SM7B, the Tank1 has a slightly narrower frequency response, and the Tank1 also has a less refined off-axis rejection. And with the Tank1, you do just have to be a little bit more careful to use the proper technique to get the best sound from it. Moving over to the SM7B here, let's talk pros and cons with this mic. The SM7B has the industry standard sound quality used on countless hit records, and it has excellent off-axis rejection, as you could see with our fan and loud music test. In addition, the SM7B does come with multiple windscreens for different applications. And of course, it has that legendary build quality and durability. And with that wider frequency response comes that slightly smoother top end for your frequencies. Next, let's talk about the cons of the SM7B. Now, the first con right away is this mic is about 3 times the price of the Tank1. And another con is this mic does require pretty significant gain from your audio interface, sometimes 60 decibels plus. So you do have to have an audio interface that is capable of giving you the proper audio from this mic. And the SM7B is probably overkill for most beginners. So here's the bottom line. The Shure SM7B is an incredible microphone. There's no denying that. And there's a reason it has legendary status. If you're a professional who needs the absolute best, can afford the $440 price tag, and have an audio interface with plenty of clean gain, the SM7B is not going to disappoint. But here's what really impressed me about the Fifine Tank1. For most content creators, podcasters, and streamers, this microphone gets you about 85 to 90% of the way to the SM7B's performance. And the Tank1 does so at about 30% of the price of the SM7B. The sound quality from the Tank1 is genuinely impressive. The build feels premium, and those onboard EQ switches are actually more convenient than the ones on the SM7B. On the SM7B, you need a pen or a pin or something to get down in there and poke those, and they're not labeled as intuitively as the ones on the Tank1. And another way to think about it is you could buy 3 of the Tank1 mics for the price of 1 of the SM7B mics. So if you're just starting out, that extra $300 could go to the price of better headphones, better acoustic treatment, or a higher quality audio interface. So my recommendation is if you're a beginner to intermediate content creator and you're looking for a professional sound without the professional price tag, the Fifine Tank1 is an absolute steal. On the other hand, if you're already established and you already have a high-end setup and you want the mic that's recorded countless platinum albums, then in that case, I recommend going with the SM7B. So what do you think? Did the Tank1 surprise you as much as it surprised me? Let me know in the comments below which mic you would choose and why. And if this comparison helped you make a decision, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already for more honest gear reviews that help you save money without sacrificing quality.